Hello and welcome. I'm Gargi Rawat and you're watching me on youtube.com/NDTV, the site to go to for all the videos from NDTV. Well, every day we ask you about which are the stories that you're most interested, want to know more about. And this is our top 5 stories of the day. Discriminatory, dangerously divisive. European Union Parliament is going to debate the Citizenship Amendment Act in India. Now, this debate is going to take place today and perhaps there'll be a voting tomorrow. This is after several groups pushed a resolution in the European Union Parliament regarding CAA, and of course this is something India has already reacted to, saying that it's an internal matter and it's not right for another legislative body to comment on what has been passed by an Indian Parliament. But there you have it. They're going to be debating it today. We'll get you the details. BJP MLA on CAA at a time when the BJP is going on about how the Citizenship Amendment Act is for minorities in the 3 neighboring countries. He has come out, he's from Madhya Pradesh, and he's come out and said should not divide on the basis of religion and how this goes against the spirit of the Constitution. The Nirbhaya convict files a plea in the Supreme Court. A curative petition has been filed, and it is being thought that the hanging of the 4 convicts in the Nirbhaya gang rape case, that hanging may not happen on the 1st of February because two convicts have filed curative petitions and they have been rejected. Now a third has filed this, and it could lead to a further delay. Now, the other big story that NDTV has been continuing to track is about the state of the economy and the state of the poor. And again, from Uttar Pradesh, we bring you this story of young, hungry, jobless in India. And we're talking about how in this perfect storm of inflation with the food prices going up and employment opportunities being very limited and incomes coming down, what this means for the young men and women. Also, coronavirus, every day we're carrying updates, and now 132 are dead in China, and various countries taking measures, and India too is going to airlift Indian citizens who are there in Wuhan, that is the epicenter of the novel coronavirus outbreak. So let's get you some details of all the stories. Now here, debate on CAA in the European Parliament today and a possible vote tomorrow, and they've called it discriminatory and dangerously divisive. So this is a final joint resolution. Now, there had been 6 resolutions that had been pushed by various groups, which is 560 MPs of the Parliament's total 751. So 560 MPs belonging to various groups had put forward some 6 proposals, and now a final joint resolution is ready for debate in the European Parliament, and there's going to be a voting on it tomorrow. Now, it talks about, it calls on the government of India to engage with various sections of the population in peaceful dialogue and to repeal what it calls the discriminatory amendments, which violates India's international obligations. Now, remember, the amendment to the Citizenship Act actually provides a fast-track citizenship to 6 religions from 3 neighboring countries, Bangladesh, Pakistan and Afghanistan, but it leaves out Muslims. So that aspect is seen as discriminatory. The first time in Indian law you have a discrimination on the basis of religion. And remember, it's also being challenged in India's Supreme Court. So they've also called it discriminatory, and it says it violates India's international obligation. It warns against increasing nationalism, which has resulted in the fueling of religious intolerance and discrimination against Muslims. And it also talks very interestingly about Uttar Pradesh. Remember, in Uttar Pradesh, when anti-CAA protests took place, at least 21 people were killed during those protests in police action. Now, the police claim that it was due to the violence that took place, that their officers or the cops were also injured. But remember, NDTV did not find their claims to be correct. But the resolution talks about how Indian authorities have also used internet shutdowns and placed limits on public transportation to prevent peaceful protests. Whereas reports have emerged of hundreds of protesters being beaten, shot at or tortured, in particular in Uttar Pradesh. Shutting down internet communication, the resolution says, is a violation of the fundamental right to access information. And this is something that even the Indian Supreme Court said recently in its decision on Jammu and Kashmir, and in the various petitions that had come to it regarding the internet shutdown in Jammu and Kashmir. And the Supreme Court also said that it is a fundamental right. This resolution, interestingly, also talks about the arrest of human rights activists like Akhil Gogoi, of Assam. Now, when the protests broke out in Assam, he was taken into preventive custody. Then the very stringent UAPA was brought against him. The NIA is also investigating because Akhil Gogoi is a very popular leader, and he's seen as somebody in touch with the farmers, a grassroots leader. So he was thrown into jail. He's still in jail, and obviously because he's now being investigated under a very stringent UAPA charges, and the NIA is investigating it. They also mentioned Sadaf Jafar, activist and actor Sadaf Jafar. She was arrested by the UP police in Lucknow when she was in the middle of filming. She was doing a Facebook live and she was questioning the police regarding their action or why they weren't taking action against some people who were indulging in violence. And you actually heard it on the video. The police say, you also come along. And before you knew it, she was also in jail, where she remained for 3 weeks. Finally, she was given bail, and she's come out and talked about the sort of, the treatment that she was given by the UP police. So this resolution talking about arrest of human rights activists like Akhil Gogoi and Sadaf Jafar. Now, as we said, India has maintained that the passing of the CAA and this new law and amendment is an internal matter of India, and that the law was passed by India's democratically elected parliament. The government has also denied this emphatically, that the law is discriminatory, and says it only seeks to fast-track citizenship for persecuted minorities. And of course, this resolution does not really affect anything. It doesn't affect the decisions of the European Council or European Commission, but it's the timing that makes it a little awkward for India and embarrassing for India, because Prime Minister Narendra Modi is headed to Brussels in March for an India-EU summit. So just ahead of that, this issue being debated and a resolution also going to be voted on in the European Union Parliament there. Now, the other stories that you want to know more about, well, talking about the CAA, it's interesting at a time when the government has been pushing about how it's not discriminatory. Now, an MLA of the BJP's from Madhya Pradesh has come out and has said that the law is discriminatory. Just a moment. All right. So, this MLA from Madhya Pradesh, Narayana Tripathi, he's an MLA from Maihar, and he said that the first thing is that whether we should follow the constitution of Baba Saheb Ambedkar, respect it or tear it down. It has been said in the constitution that there will be no partition on the basis of religion in a secular nation. Even then, it is being done. One thing is proved in this: either you are with the constitution or you are against the constitution. People have stopped looking at each other. This MLA has said, Muslims live in my village and used to wish us every time they saw us, but these days they do not even like to see us. Peace is not possible in such circumstances. And he says if we divide people on the basis of religion, then this country will not be able to run. So very, very strong, statement coming out. Of course, I mean, possibly he's looking to leave the party, God knows. But an MLA of the BJP there speaking out against the Citizenship Amendment Act. He says, he does say, in fact, I'm not willing to join the Congress, neither am I leaving the BJP. The CAA was enacted only for vote bank, which is benefiting the BJP. This is not going to benefit the country. So that is what this MLA from Madhya Pradesh had to say. Now, let's talk about the Nirbhaya case, and that is the big story this morning, because on one hand, you have this petition by Akshay Singh, who is the third convict, and he has filed a curative petition in the Supreme Court. And it does seem likely now that the February 1st hanging that was to take place is probably not going to take place, because remember, there are all these legal avenues available to convicts on death row. That is the law in the country, and even though it does every time lead to a lot of anguish on the part of Nirbhaya's parents, and that is totally something that one can understand, and it also leads to anger among people when they question why is it getting delayed. But it does seem the hanging or the execution is inevitable. However, each convict does have this right, and whether the Supreme Court will after this see it try to streamline the entire process of these mercy petitions, etc., that remains to be seen. But as NDTV's Vaidyanathan has been reporting that Akshay Singh is seeking this curative petition has put this curative petition before the Supreme Court. Also, another convict, Mukesh Kumar Singh, has challenged the rejection of his mercy petition by the President of India, and he's cited non-application of mind, because remember, it was very fast, within hours, that the India's President rejected his mercy petition. On on one hand, it was something that, the government spoke about how it's moving very fast on this and, trying to ensure that it doesn't get delayed endlessly. But it's also given him a reason to approach the Supreme Court claiming non-application of mine, given the speed at which it was rejected by the President of India. So that is a story we're also going to be watching out for. Thanks so much for watching. That's all the time I have. Goodbye.